Okay, so Annita, you put forward in your opening remarks a very clear call for Europe to lead. Many people see this moment, particularly after the start of President Trump's second term, as a key moment, a turning point for Europe. I just want to ask you, do you really believe that Europe can achieve strategic autonomy and become a serious geopolitical actor? Many people doubt that, as we know, in Washington, also in Beijing and elsewhere. But do you believe it? And what does it mean, practically and politically? And what sort of time frame are we talking about? That's the first question. And then Dora's focused on what Greece can do. And, Greece as this kind of comeback kid in southern Europe, has really turned a corner. But I guess the question is, as fairly small countries, Cyprus, Greece, which have emerged stronger from this crisis, the crisis decade up to 2019, what have Greece and Cyprus got to offer? Dora, you talked about some of the things Greece and Cyprus have to offer, but maybe we could explore that a bit more about what role your countries can play in meeting some of the challenges, especially in your back door in the Middle East, for example.
The first thing I've learned in politics is that you can never be certain of anything, and you are not allowed to make predictions because things are changing. Nothing is static. But we can see today that, of course, the goal is for Europe to have strategic autonomy. The goal is for Europe to be competitive, and we can accomplish that as long as we decide to be fair, to make strategical moves correctly and lead. This is exactly what I said before. How are we going to do that? And I don't believe in small and big countries, because we can see now, and I can see my country, the strategical position. I can see Greece as well and other countries, how important is their role, not only just strategically, but substantially political-wise, especially with what is going on in the Middle East and so on, with our trilateral, multilateral relations with countries in the Middle East, with our neighborhoods, the excellent collaboration. You have seen what we have done with to facilitate the humanitarian corridor and other synergies vital to de-escalate the tension, for example, to what happened in Gaza, or what is going on now at the current moment, our relations with Israel as well. But so we need to realize that all the countries, they can play a very instrumental role to confront all these uncertainties by one thing to have in common: compliance and punctuality to what we represent. Dora said something before. We cannot, for example, ask from the member states or oblige them to follow certain conditions, but now, because we remember with a delay to discuss about defense and security, to collaborate with third countries, by not follow the same conditions and terms that the member states they are obliged. And we don't want to exclude anyone. Of course, we want to have partnerships and collaborations with everybody, as long as they will follow the same conditions like the member states and like any other third countries that they want to be part of this European perspective. And I'm closing with that. We live in 2025, but it's not a lot of decades and a lot of years that Europe suffered from 2 world wars and from insecurities and unstable conditions. I don't want to believe that we're returning back to dark ages. I want to believe that the people, they want to see from us, the politicians, they want to see from the business leadership, they want to see that we know how to handle things. And it's not the interest, it's the dignity, it's the unified strategy, it's everything that at the end of the day, they're going to benefit all of us. So this is what I want to see from the European Union, and it's up to us to manage that.
And Dora, what do you think should be the priorities? I mean, we've just had the NATO summit in which all the NATO member states committed
well,
to.
you start with the NATO summit, so I have to make some remarks about that. Let me just state for anybody who does not know me, I'm a fervent supporter of NATO and of the European Union. But believe me, Joan, I felt very badly listening to the Secretary General of NATO calling the President of the United States daddy and speaking about the Europeans in a way that I don't believe represents Europe at all. Because yes, Europe was the spoiled child for years. It was due to the decisions which were made after the Second World War. Yes, we based practically all our defense systems on the United States and our energy from Russia. But there was a radical change, and Europe is ready to stand. And Europe has $18.5 trillion GDP, with $18 trillion in China, if my numbers are still correct. So, and $2 trillion from Russia, in Russia. So, yes, we can. The answer is, if we will, if we are really make the decision that we will reinforce our defense, we will cooperate with the United States, of course, but with respect and as partners, and we are able to produce. We need time. We cannot do that from one day or the other. We need time. But in my opinion, it's a matter of will. If the political leadership in Europe is ready to say to their own people the truth. Until now, I hear only the German Chancellor saying it. We Greeks, when we speak about 3.5 of our GDP on defense, our people accept that. Why do they accept that? They accept that because they feel threatened. And when you feel threatened, you agree to give 3.5 of your GDP on defense. But if the people in the European Union do not understand that this is a radical change, what happened in Ukraine, and that they will have to think in a different way, it will be very difficult for the leadership to make this decision. Last but not least, Greece. Yes, Greece can play a role. You are probably tired of hearing us Greeks saying that we are honest brokers in the Middle East. Yes, we are honest brokers, but what does it mean, honest brokers? It means we have a very good relationship, a strategic relationship with Israel, a strategic relationship with Egypt, and a very good and strengthening the relationship with Saudi Arabia. But we have another advantage, which in my opinion is more important. We know and understand the Muslim world. And this is a difference between us and some other of our partners in the European Union. We know, we respect, and we understand the Muslim world. So we can be helpful as exactly honest brokers, as I said before. We had done it in the past. It will not be the first time. We will not solve the problem between Israel and Iran. It's clear. Somebody else will solve it. But Greece will be there to give a helpful hand when it is needed.
Okay, thank you. We're kind of out of time, so I wanted to come back to the enlargement issue. EU enlargement through the 1990s and the 2000s was the kind of defining foreign policy goal of the EU. Is it any longer a viable policy? Because if we look at what has been happening in the Western Balkans, everybody seems to have lost faith in the idea that it's ever going to happen. Are we moving towards a different model of phased membership or associate membership? And the focus obviously has shifted now to Moldova and Ukraine as well. So just your final thoughts about, Greece has always championed enlargement, and, Cyprus is a supporter too, but...
It's not a secret, we have common positions, the countries, yes, about nations.
But is it any longer, within a realistic time frame, is it a viable proposition?
Look, we're discussing that in every session, to be honest, but not only as the speakers of the parliaments of the European Union. In all the discussions, the answer is clear. We want them to stay. We want them to be part of the European Union, to want them to have the potential strategical to keep them on the right track. And especially now, it's very important with everything that is going on to keep the West Balkans inside the European Union. But it cannot happen from one day to another. We have all these difficulties, the economical and all these procedure difficulties that they have to, all these steps they need to follow. We did so as well. And other countries, you remember when Cyprus entered the European Union along with 9 other member states, it was not easy, and some people, they were doubting that we will be able to be at last and finally a member of the European Union. But today, if you're asking me, if I have to refer to the greatest diplomatical achievement of Cyprus, that will be our full membership of the European Union. That will be the answers for all the countries, including Ukraine and West Balkans country, that they need to be part of the European Union. And that has to do with our defense, our security, our future, our competitiveness. The benefit, it's in so many other factors as well, and we need to take that into consideration. I know, and I'm speaking with them, that they're kind of disappointment. I think at a completely different chapter, we need to see all this bureaucracy of the European Union. Dora referred to the Chancellor of Germany, and the reality is, it came to my mind the other days. We had a meeting at the session of EPP, because I'm participating in EPP, and he said something very important I think we need to discuss today as well, and it has to do about bureaucracy. In order for Europe to be more competitive, we need to lift all these barriers that there are, with all these bureaucratic steps that sometimes you need to have a PhD, I don't know, in bureaucracy to confront all these procedures. Keep our laws more simple and implement those laws and be able to show to people that we understand how they feel, we understand that they are afraid, we understand their concerns. But the answer to what you have asked prior is clear. Of course, we want them to be inside the European Union. I don't have a precise time framework to say so, but I know it's strategical to proceed ASAP.
Thank you. Final word, Dora, because we have to move on. I think we've got a connection to Ukraine coming next, so we have to keep to the time. But yeah.
7 new countries in the European Union is a challenge which for the moment is not foreseeable for the European Union. If we really want to do it, we have first to make the radical changes in the structure of the European Union. 27 vetoes on every possible issue. You cannot allow real enlargement today. That's the truth. So we have to find intermediate ways, which we have in the Western Balkans for the moment. We have to find other ways to bring them closer, to give them money, to expect the changes, mainly the democratical changes which are needed, and then we can proceed. But first of all, if we really want, we have to change ourselves.
Great. On that note, changing ourselves, we have to end the session, but thank you both very much indeed.